What is your best that backfired story? Decided to burn some newspaper outside in a toilet I had just replaced because I didn't want risking the grass catching on fire. Well, heat caused toilet to explode, sending burning newspaper everywhere. Grass caught on fire. Fire literally went back at you. Had friends at a lunch table who always made fun of this girl who sat by herself. I invited her to our table one day because I felt bad for her. Yup, you can see where this is going. She immediately and 100% replaced me, and they all realized it was even more awesome to make fun of me. Jokes on them. I got to eat lunch with my civics teacher after that. Oh wow. In my first apartment I had a bag vacuum as opposed to a canister vacuum, and the bag was full. I had no replacement bags, so I used painter's tape to attach a Walmart bag. I thought I was frugal genius, and patted myself on the back as I switched it on. Didn't work at all. Almost immediately the bag blew right off, and a bunch of dirt blew all over the place. All the dirt that was stuck in the vacuum since the previous bag was full. When I was a kid I took swimming lessons. One day after lessons were done and we went to the locker rooms to change, there were some clothes sitting on top of one of the sinks. Me wanting to show off decided to push the clothes into the sink and turned on the faucet and soaked the clothes completely. We all had a great laugh. So I go to my locker to get my clothes to get dressed, and to my horror realize that my clothes weren't in my locker, and then realize that the balled up pile of clothes I failed to recognize that were now soaking in the sink were actually my clothes. I sat in my wet swimsuit until the locker room was empty and until my dad finally came in and I lied and said someone soaked my clothes. He went to the counter and grumped at the workers and they gave him some lost and found clothes. Ugly sweats that were so big they went above my head as I embarrassingly walked through the center and parking lot, humiliated by my own actions. I've never told my parents who really soaked the clothes, but it was an excellent lesson for me to learn not to be an a-hole and to know exactly what it feels like to be bullied, as I 100% took the brunt of my childhood a-holeness. Not me but my brothers. My second older brother got really bad sunburn while out at the outdoor swimming pool and my oldest brother told him to put this deep heat cream on it. This is that kinda cream you put on for muscle pain and it heats up. Long story short, my second older brother does this and has to go to hospital for heat stroke. Never seen my dad shout so much in my life, lol. For April Fool's I was planning to do an innocent prank by putting a air horn under my teacher's chair so when he sat down it would trigger it and startle him, but he got too startled and jumped out of his seat, landed on his back and got knocked unconscious. Ripping that air horn off that seat fast as heck while he's still out. Nobody seen nothing. A girl I knew dated a guy I was also friends with. Really sweet, doting guy, not the best looking, but a really lovely lad. I went on a night out with his girlfriend, my partner at the time, and his friend Jay. We drank and danced etc, and at the end of the night, my friend and Jay were kissing. We spoke the next day and she swore it was a one-off but ended up meeting him twice after that, so I told her if she didn't tell her partner, I would, as he was my friend too and didn't deserve it. In the end I told him and he thanked me. Then she spoke to him, cried a river and managed to talk him round into forgiving her and falling out with me. Been a few years since and neither one spoke to me since. They're still together but I don't know how he can trust her. You still came out ahead. You are now down one person in your life with a weak enough will to perform such emotional mental gymnastics. Would bite you if you found out this aspect of them when actually relying on them for something. One day, my school decided to give everyone that rode bike, motorbike, etc. a ticket if you rode something to school. You had to show them your ticket to get into school. Well, as you might have already guessed, a lot of people forgot to bring the ticket on the first day, and when I say a lot I mean a lot. There were literally over 100 bikes just standing outside of the gate. The policy was removed shortly after that. Sitting on an airplane doing a crossword puzzle, my pen stopped writing, so I snapped it up and down a couple of times. Pen works again. Guy beside me starts freaking out and yelling for the stewardess. I look over at him and see a thin line of black ink running from the left shoulder of his crisp, starched white shirt to the right hip of his pants. I pretended like I had been asleep, and he blamed some random kid across the aisle. The airline gave him a voucher or something to pay for the dry cleaning. That pen side-fired. Okay, I got this one. When I was a leader in training, lit, at my beloved summer camp, itching to prove myself but still a dumb impulsive kid, I also liked fire. We were on a day trip and the site had a 30-degree rock face that was hidden from the site itself. So I went to the top with a friend and a can of naphtha, highly flammable. These rocks are pitted, so I decided it would be an awesome idea to fill one and light it on fires. I was facing uphill and didn't notice that when I filled the little pit, it overflowed and ran down between my legs. So I light it. It immediately flares up down the hill, through my legs. I jumped out of the way but ended up knocking the can into the blaze and it bounced down the rock face, spraying burning naphtha everywhere. It landed on the lake at the bottom and leaked burning fuel all over the small inlet. I turned around and friend had run, so I ended up putting out 50% just stamping in my sandals. They brought in and emptied 2 fire extinguishers on it all because main camp was close by. Somehow didn't get sent home and had an awesome counselor career. Dang. Got my cat 2 cat trees because I was told she needed more vertical space. Now she doesn't use them and sleeps in the center of the floor like she owns the frickin' place. A little bit of backstory. This was when I was maybe 14-15 at school. Back then the school was well known for how at breaks the outside areas would be swarming with seagulls because everyone would throw their rubbish on the floor. There had been many times where people were crap on by the birds, which made everyone scared when they flew above. So anyway, it was our lunch break and it was coming towards the end, so everyone was finishing their food. It was a hot day, so most people ate outside. Like always, the seagulls were swarming the place, so a lot of people were very cautious because no one wanted to be shat on. Me and a load of friends were all kinda just huddled together in a circle, like now having a bit of banter like the young teenagers do. I kept looking up because of all the seagulls, right, and I see that one has taken a crap right above me. It was quite high up, so I had time to react. I decided to get everyone's attention, and then took a step back and stood there looking all smug. The plan was to have the crap land in front of me directly where I was standing. It backfired when the bird crap went all over my head, bag and uniform while everyone was watching me. You are now the only person I know who has ever literally gotten crap faced. I was with my friend walking from the subway to a bar. These 2 attractive girls came up to us and asked if we knew where a different bar was, but it was on the way to where we were going, so we offered to walk them there. One of the girls said, "Wow, that's so nice. Thank you. You're not gonna rape us or something, are you?" And I responded, "No. It'll all be consensual." She didn't find it as funny as I did and they ran ahead at the next crosswalk. TBH, they started the rape joke. You just finished it. What did they expect to hear when asking someone that question? If you said yes, they'd run. You said no and they ran. Tried to tell my best friend, at the time, that I had heard too many rumors and eyewitness accounts of her boyfriend cheating on her. She then turned around and told me that I just wanted her boyfriend all to myself and that I was jealous, and they continued dating while he continued cheating. I was quite bored one day, so I took a large stick and began acting like it was a lightsaber. This was when I was like 12 BTW. So basically, as I was playing around with it and my brother grabbed a stick and joined in, we were fighting with them for a bit when I decided to hit him in the balls because he kicked a ball into Y face earlier in the week. So I thrust the stick at his balls and there was a brick wall directly behind him. I missed and the stick hit the wall and it jumped back and hit me in the balls. I still remember that day since. Well, you hit someone's balls, at least. I was skiing with my dad on high slope on a windy day. It was slippery and I fell. Unable to stop, I descended about 100 meters on my butt before stopping. I was still a little shocked trying to stand up when my dad stopped right before me to mock me, but it's still slippy and he fell. And he descended 100 meters on his butt before stopping. It was hilarious. I am imagining the scene on America's Funniest Home Videos. Glorious. 8th grade. Playing soccer. Guy on opposing team goes to kick ball toward goal and our goalie sucks. I dive to block it with my body. Oh, I blocked it all right. With my nuts. Mega oof. But at least he didn't get that point. I used the balls to stop the ball. I was running low on condoms. So I decided to sneak a box in my basket under the groceries because the supermarket had self-checkout registers and I'm still freaking embarrassed to buy condoms. Totally backfired. I scanned the condom and threw it in the bag in a split second. This lady, I'm assuming the store manager, got suspicious and walked up to me and asked me if I'm sure I scanned everything, then mentioned the yellow box. I remained calm, pointed out the item on the screen, and all of a sudden all her professionalism went away and a stupid smirk appeared on her face. Then she just had to crack a joke in front of all offered customers. She said, "Do you know how to use them?" Haha, then walked away. Butthole. For your information, you can Amazon them. Totally worth it. I had a really bad number in the Vietnam era draft lottery and joined the Navy Reserve to avoid the draft. I was walking down the road wearing Navy uniform, and a guy in an Army uniform walking the other way said, "What the heck are you doing here?" He had graduated high school 2 years before me. I did one of those fake look around to make sure nobody's listening, and said, "Don't tell anybody," but I think I figured out a way to keep from getting drafted. We had a pretty good chuckle over it. We were in Da Nang. Once I had this stupid idea to go out with my best friend and my crush together. I thought he could help me get together with her, leaving friend zone. Well, sometime after that they started dating. Yeah, been there. This actually happened to my teacher. She entered an axe throwing competition and while winding up before throwing, it was behind her head. When she threw it, she hit the back of her head with the handle. She knocked herself out and the blade of the axe almost sliced her head. I've heard of a guy who was drunk and hit himself directly to the head with a tomahawk and he had permanent brain damage. When I was 9, my older brother went to punch me. I thought he was going for my face, so I ducked. He was aiming for my stomach, but dang did he connect with my nose, breaking that right away. One time my brother punched me in the shoulder but his wrist wasn't straight and he ended up with a broken wrist. The bruise on my shoulder was quite the trophy. Met a guy at work after a bad breakup in uni. He was cute, so I figured we could hang out for the summer and I'd never see him again, but he could be my distraction. Been together 8 years, married for 1. Oops. Wholesome backfire. After a night of heavy drinking, a friend and I spot an abandoned building on the walk home. Thinking it would be a good idea to climb in through a second-story window, I give him a boost onto the balcony, promptly slipping and ending up elbow deep in a first-story window. Cue a late-night early morning trip to the hospital, and me waking up with 11 stitches in my arm. Sucks, but in hindsight I'm lucky to be left with a scar and no significant nerve or muscle damage. Joke to my friend about how he had to wipe his dog's butt. BC, the dog got diarrhea. My cat then shat on her blanket right next to me, and she was so smug about it too. Was told a rumor about a girl I used to be friends with having a big sexual adventure. I told these dudes to maybe not spread it around because 1, no one's business, and 2, rumors like that really eat at people. I heard the rumor again the next class, so the following period I told the girl since she was in that class. Quietly I say, "I'm not saying this rumor is true, but I think you should probably be careful with the personal information you disclose to people. Not everyone will do the best for you." Of course she instantly asks why I'm saying this. I tell her. She angrily says the girl's name, whom I stopped being friends with too previously. I didn't know it was her who told. Just keep stuff you don't want everyone knowing to yourself. Okay. By the end of the day, I have these girls trying to come at me. The other girl said that I made it up because I just wanna make them not friends too. The first girl believes her because she's dumb as rocks in the first place. Good thing I'm intimidating to people, so I wasn't bullied or anything. But god dang, I was seriously having the best intentions for a girl I didn't even talk to at that point for being crappy previously. When I was a youngin', I would make stuff at my house out of whatever I had. Like one time I made a hacky sack by cutting a shiny old bathing suit up that I had and sewing it up into a ball stuffed with Mardi Gras beads. This other time I DK what I was making, but I had the idea that I was going to melt 2 balloons together with a lighter. So I start lighting one balloon and it pops and melted rubber flies into the back of my hand and burned it so bad I had a bubble on the back of my hand, and 20 years later the bubble scar is still there and it is black. Gonna need to see a pic of that. This one kinda fits but didn't backfire on me. I was invited by a friend of mine to join in with a Friday ladies game night that she hosted, and I was excited to meet new people and play new games. After a few weeks, My host friend asked if I could stop coming over on Fridays and instead join her on Saturday nights because ladies from the Friday night group were peeved that when I showed up they actually played games. Saturday game nights were awesome. We made crazy snack foods, played games, and if the game ended too soon we watched movies. So wasn't a backfire for me but a backfire to those who go the game night and expect to not play games. Me and my friends were playing Uno, so I put down 4+ card, then everyone after me put down their 4+ cards and I ended up picking 24 freaking cards. Wow, you have 4 friends, that's the amazing part. I decided to try and cook beans and left them for half an hour full of water. Came back with me realizing I kept the temp high and freaking set the beans ablaze. Let's say my mom whipped my butt hard. My dad did that to tomato soup when it was just the 2 of us at home once. He just left it on medium for like an hour and a half. He brought up the pot with a crusty layer of red covering the inside. We went out to eat that night. I nominated myself and my GF for homecoming royalty, hoping we could be king and queen for our senior year. She won. I did not. This occurred this week. I'm fine though. I work in a small kitchen. As a joke during final briefing of the night I asked the head chef in front of everyone why the pastry section was stashing all the bananas ordered for staff to eat. Next thing the head chef blows up at the pastry chefs, saying why wasn't the bananas used for an ice cream or something, and they all got warnings. Head chef didn't know they were for staff and pastry hated me for a solid week lol. I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school, driving my brand new graduation gift Mustang. I was cute and in great shape and perky, and I knew it. Dad sent me to the local hardware store, back when it was an Ace Hardware in a strip center, next to the grocery store, not the Home Depot style warehouses of today, to get something for him, and I was more than happy to oblige. I knew what I was doing. I pulled right up to the front of the store in my shiny red car, got out and could feel all the teenage boys who worked in the store watch me walk in. I sauntered to the counter and said, I need a such and such. Can you help me find it? I was helped out by 2 or 3 boys who helped me find what I needed. I was followed by them all back to the counter at the front of the store to pay for it, where I smiled sweetly and said to them, thanks so much for your help. I may or may not have batted my eyes a little. Then I turned around to leave the store and walked smack into a plate glass window. Everyone in the store let out an audible ooh, and those sweet, helpful boys just laughed and laughed. I knew then and there that I would never be that kind of girl again. God was watching me, all full of myself, and said, you need a little humility. Here, let me show you. Lesson learned. I may or may not have batted my eyes a little. You had me laughing right there. Middle school PE. There was a particular girl in the class that I had a crush on and wanted to impress. So during the mile, which I loathed, I decided to make a big show out of running as fast and gracefully as I could past my crush and her friend. I heard giggling behind me and realized that I had failed miserably. My PE teacher held my feet during sit-ups near the NBC. I was struggling to keep up. I farted. Chubby slow kid gets help. Farts. Thank God I have a better diet now. When we were kids, my friend passed me one of those bouncy ball eggs trying to convince me it was a real egg. So obviously I threw it on the floor, shouting that's not a real egg. At that moment the egg hit a curb at exactly the right angle for it to come hurling back at me and smack me straight in the nose. It all happened so fast I was laughing through the tears. It hurt so much. You know the inside of your shoe and when it starts rolling up? Well, that happened and I feared it was because my feet were too sweaty and came to the conclusion that liquid was making this happen. So, I tried putting glue in there to keep it down but accidentally put them on before they were dry. Messing me shows up. Messing me shows up. Read this in a normal voice which then turned Irish at these words. Not me, but my dad's friend. He wrote a program for a big fruit and other produce company and they wrote in the contract that he would get a 10% bonus paycheck for all the money he made the company. Well, he made the company well over $1 million and the company decided that $100K was too much, so they rediscussed the contract with him. To give him 5% of it, he agreed. A few days later they fire him and IDK if he ever got the bonus. He may have or he may not have, I forget that part, but holy crap, that's fricked up. When I was a kid, I caught a beetle and tried to set it loose on my sister, who was afraid of bugs. and so it flew back toward me, and I ran away from it and into a door frame. Gave myself a black eye and didn't live it down for the longest time. I pulled on a rubber band with malicious intent and got hurt myself when it launched in my face. Entire minutes of plotting ruined. Inconceivable. I was in middle school, and keep in mind, I have a mild disability. Anyway, so it was lunchtime and I was in my walker. I had hardly any help those days, so I was forced to carry an entire tray by myself. A walker requires 2 fricking hands. So me, being stubborn and without help, I tried to carry it all myself. I dropped the entire fricking tray and dang near fell out of my walker. Literally backfired. I got into an accident recently that was my fault. I rear-ended someone fairly fast. The impact of course frightened me, especially since my car was totaled and I was practically in her trunk. Immediately on impact my brain said, holy crap, you are in her car. Get out. I threw the car in reverse and plowed into the car behind me. At the time it seemed logical to get my car out of her car. Police showed up. Assumed it was the girl behind me that caused it all, until I sheepishly got his attention to tell him. My gut said to get out of her car. The plan backfired. My insurance skyrocketed to $400 a month. I will never follow too close again, and if an accident happens, don't floor it in reverse. I was prepping wire for an electronics project. I was stripping USB phone charger wire to get some wire so that I didn't have to buy some. Anyway, I didn't have wire strippers on hand, so I instead whipped out a pocket knife and was cutting away the wire sleeve. The knife slipped and sliced my thumb clean open. I've had a scar on my thumb about 3 centimeters long to this day. TLDR, I scarred myself because didn't want to buy a wire stripper and used a pocket knife instead. Literally any pliers with a cutting part would have worked. Even scissors would work. A knife is a terrible idea. I was being bullied. I was around 10 and I was watching anime and saw the main character defend himself. So I was gonna attack my bully. The move I was gonna use was from the anime, so I tried and failed. I tripped and fell flat on my face. My teacher caught me on my phone in class and told me to give it to her. So I took my phone out of my case and gave the case to her. I sat back down and the teacher was just staring at me until I said, "What?" She then made that coughing noise they all do to indicate that I know why she's staring at me. To make things not worse than it already is, I got up and gave her my phone, then sat back down. The entire class laughed at me. Man, you've just got to laugh when that sort of thing happens, and then it looks like a total boss move. I was once clearing off a property I was supposed to be living on with my ex, and it had previously been used for junk storage. This is out in the country, so we started throwing the small trees and brush we cut down into a pile in the middle of the property, planning to have a bonfire. The genius I am glad to be parted from decided to use the cushion from an old couch and some gas to start the fire. Basically made diet napalm. Ended up melting part of my shoe trying to contain it. Buddy and I were burning brush in his fire pit on New Year's and were admittedly drunk as frick. So I was pouring more gas on the pile to get it to take faster and it caught the nozzle on fire. In my infinite drunken wisdom I decided to shake the plastic can and spread burning gasoline everywhere but where I needed it. Dropped it because it was hot and the fire melted a hole through the plastic and it drained into the ground, setting the ground on fire for a good 2 hours. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.